Welcome to the Scouting Report here on LUTV. Leeds United facing another huge championship game. Trip to Ashton Gate on Saturday. We'll look at the opponents this weekend, the Robins, in greater detail with former Leeds player Ben Parker very shortly. But we're going to start by looking back, and why not, on a wonderful night at Ellen Road on Friday night against West Bromwich Albion. Ben, I know you're still recovering from the celebrations after the game, but it was a wonderful night all in. We're going to look at the goals in a little bit more detail, but a great result at the perfect time of the season, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. And we spoke about on Friday after the game about timing in football. The game on Friday was everything perfect about getting the first goal after 16 seconds, getting the second goal to build on that. And then I think the third goal was really big because we've seen games, Swansea not too long ago, when they've got a goal back and made it kind of a bit nervous and we've had to dig in at the end. But everything about the performance were fantastic from the first second to the last end. It was one of the best atmospheres I've seen at Ellen Road. I've been coming down to the games for quite a long time, over 20 years, and I can't remember too many atmospheres like that, and that's the kind of atmospheres you're going to need to get promoted.
Well, yeah, I mean, you mentioned there from the very first second, and it was from the very first second. I know that many of you will have watched these goals a million times, but we're going to take sort of a closer look at them, really, and see sort of where they came from, Ben. And from this position, this is straight from kick-off, obviously. West Brom have the kick-off. They do what a lot of teams normally do. They look to sort of overload one side of the pitch, wherever they think that their strength is, with Robson Kanu down that right side. And you think there's nothing particularly wrong with what they try and do. The important thing is that they win that first ball. If they don't win the first or the second ball, then they're potentially in danger. But from this point of view, where does it then become a real danger from West Brom? And is there anything you spotted in terms of how we're set up, really?
First of all, from a West Brom's point of view, I don't think there's anything too much wrong with that. There's so many teams up and down the country that'll do have a kick-off routine like that, where they set it back, go long, either win the first ball or not. There's many times when, like Liam Cooper's done there, won the initial header for the opposition side, but then you pick up the second balls. But two alarming things for me. First of all, if you look on this side, look at that gap. Massive.
It's a huge amount of space, isn't it, here?
And you just highlight the fullback there. For me, if I'm a fullback and they're kicking it long down my side, surely he's been told, or you know yourself, to push in, compact the space, because if you're going to knock down for the second ball, if Liam Cooper's going to win that header, you've got to be close enough to your winger to try and affect that second ball. But as we're seeing with Cooper's winning that header, there's so much space for us to then go attack. So, yeah, from West Brom it could be better, but then our energy to go counter-attack straight away is electric.
Yeah, great header from Liam Cooper as well. To him, he's done that so many times this season. One of the best players in the Championship. This season, but then we see how quickly we break, and you'd expect energy at the start of the game, wouldn't you, Ben? It's not really a massive surprise, but how many bodies can it get full? But again, even in this position, Pablo's in space, as we know, but again, is there anything too much wrong with what West Brom have and the bodies they've got back?
I don't really see too many problems at all. I think there'll be plenty of times, and we've seen it this season, where, say, Jack Harrison or whoever's out on the left-hand side, they'll just play the ball out wide, and then we'll try and create a little bit of space down that side, get to the edge, and then whip a cross in. But I like Harrison's composure. I like his getting his head up, he's trying to pick a pass out, and obviously this man there is already celebrating.
He is. He knows. He knows what's coming, doesn't he?
He definitely knows what's coming. He's had his hands up for a good 5 seconds before he's got the pass. But from West Brom's point of view, look, the defenders, you have to retreat back to your 18-yard box as quick as possible on a counter attack like that. But the problem comes when Pablo does get the ball, as we're about to see.
Because it's so early in the game, though, does that make it, I don't know, the desire to just get back and protect, because you're kind of a bit startled, you don't know what's happening, because all of a sudden we've got a 5-on-5 situation within the first 10 seconds of the game. Look,
when teams are breaking, your players are running at pace, you don't stand still. You can't stand still because they'll just pop balls through you, play you on side, and then you're through on goal. So they've done every right thing, retreat to your 18-yard box, trying to get a line. As soon as the ball gets played out there, I think from a defensive point of view, again, a lot of people are doing the jobs. I think he's done his job there, he's done his job there, getting out there, getting out there, getting out there. The one person that hasn't done his job is the left back, because he needs to get closer. He needs to get closer to that ball, he needs to affect it. You can see from the shot on your side there, Thom, 3 yards. 3 yards is too much for quality players, unfortunately. People say, look, you need to get a yard away. And I think in back of his mind, whilst playing, he must think, I'm in a decent position here. I've been there plenty of times when the gap's probably between me and you. And you think from a defensive point of view, you think you're doing your job, but the quality players just need a half a yard and they can punish you.
Did you know, like when you were playing, if you got into these kind of positions defensively, you'd look at the player who you're up against and think, well, go on then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with you 25 yards, 30 yards from goal. You're not going to cause any damage, therefore, when you came up against other players, you something to be a bit more wary. So the fact that it's Pablo Hernandez, you know, and he's not scored loads of long-range goals for us. You know, this is it's a bit more unusual. But, you know, from that point of view, reading the situation that little bit better would probably help them. But that's West Brom's point of view. Look, at our perspective, of course, is what Pablo produces. Yeah. And there's not much analysis you can really do on the strike because it's just perfection, isn't it? I
could draw 3 keepers in there. They still wouldn't save that. But different class from Pablo and real set the tone for the evening.
And here's the build-up to the second goal, Ben, which is something you want to highlight because we see this a lot this season. Leeds building it from back to front, a lot of possession. But subtle movements, both in midfield and defence, which eventually creates the goal.
It is, and like I said, from West Brom's point of view, been a goal down after the 16 seconds. They've dropped off, they haven't put a high press on. So we've seen this plenty of times at Ellen Road, and they're not really in too much trouble. But like I said there, Tom, the subtle little movements. There's 2 things happening right here. First of all, Luke Ayling, he just moved in there as a centre midfielder, and it doesn't really seem much. But what he has done, you can see the first point of call. This is Jake Livermore. He's started to have a little look at him now, and that's caused him a problem because from a midfield's point of view, yes, that's what's in front of you, but he wants to screen what's behind him, and what's behind him happening here in the far corner. Pablo, he's just had a little movement, he's come into here, and what that's done, Tyler Roberts, he's gone and vacated, run into the space that Pablo has vacated, and the little movements they do all over the pitch has a meaning, has a reason to it. They want people on the move. People talk about passing and moving, but this is movement off the ball. There's been a lot said in the press lately about moving off the ball, trying to capture little clippets of that, little data of that, and this is perfect because it started with Luke Ayling just going inside just to create another midfielder option. So he's technically become a centre midfielder. Click's now the right back, but all that's done is just keep him honest, to Jake Livermore, keep the centre midfielder honest, because if Luke Ayling hadn't done that, Jake Livermore could easily just keep his position, knowing nothing's in front of him, and he can go screen the pass which is about to come from clicking into Pablo. So all it's done is keep midfielders, the opposition, honest, and the little bits of movement. It's so great to see when you slow it down and analyse it.
And this stems, I suppose, you know, your centre halves are split. They're in quite wide positions, and ordinarily some other teams, some other fullbacks, Luke Ayling might just stay in this position. He might just be in this kind of area, staying in the right back spot. Click's my midfielder. And therefore that changes everything, doesn't it? Therefore, as you say, Livermore then is more worried about what's going on behind him. He's not too concerned about Click because, you know, Gale's sort of covering him. So little movements that we'll kind of see how this plays out now as the move kind of continues. I mean, there's still some great football, some good passing, of course, included great touch there from Pablo Hernandez. But we're going to see a little bit more here now, aren't we? And this, I mean, if you're West Brom and you're Darren Moore, you're probably looking at their setup and probably a bit disappointed because even from this position, you can see some issues, can't you?
Yeah.
But from us, there's options here for Pablo, isn't there? He's got Click here if he wants to continue on the play. Tyler Roberts is still on the move along with Bamford. You can see him. But we know where the ball's going because we've watched it enough times. But just talk us through this bit.
Again, I want to start on West Brom. I think Gareth Barry's there, Livermore's there. They're happy because the ball's not going to... It doesn't go through to Tyler Roberts. It doesn't go to Patrick Bamford. And the disappointing thing from a West Brom point of view, that aspect, they've got 3 players over that side, Tom, near you, where you think the ball ends up finding Alioski, but you think they can go out deal with it. But the quality and the bravery we've shown on the ball on Friday night typifies this, because like you said, easy pass could give it back to Click. Look, he's got oceans of space. That's an easy pass. 9 times out of 10 players have done that. But we're drilled and trained from Monday to Thursday, this aspect, because we didn't train Friday with the game being that night. Can you play that killer pass? Can you play more of a percentage kind of pass where you're going to stretch teams? And the pass at the moment is out wide. But Jack Harrison, I think he's in good position. But what he does do, it gives Alioski an extra 10 yards by just doing a little bit of movement in there. It just gives him an extra 10 yards because then the fullback has to stay with Jack Harrison, gives more room for Alioski to drive into. And like I say, these are fine margins, but higher up we go, top level football, these fine margins count massively. And it all goes to show the hard work and the genius work that Bielsa does at the training ground.
Well, you know, and Alioski's adamant he wants the ball. I mean, he always wants the ball, as all players do, you know, on a team. But he's really showing for it because, again, he's looking at the 3 players. He can see the backs of all their heads. Yeah. He knows none of them really know where he is. I mean, there should be a bit of awareness from that point of view. And Pablo can spot it too, and that's what you get when you've got a player, you know, with the vision of Pablo Hernandez. You know, a pass that he can pull off in his sleep. It looks easy. Most people will tell you it's not, of course, you've given it a go. But yeah, but as you say, Sanu, in this position here, there's a little bit more movement here. Harrison's already made his little run inside. Bamford, whenever we've slowed this down so far and built up to both goals, he's never not on the move. There is, of course, the option for click, which is used, but it's the movement around the edge of the penalty area that's going to cause all the problems, isn't it?
It is. And you mentioned Patrick Bamford there and his little subtle little movements. I think it'd be great to have a player cam, the old-fashioned player cam, and watch him for 90 minutes. I've really grown to love his movement and love him as a player, because since he's come back through the 23s, so a few games we've got up and close personals, some games we were pitch side, and you get a real feel for the movement, the pace he has. I remember a game they played away at Burnley under 23s, got a hat-trick that game. He was a constant threat. His movement was different class, and that's the type of stuff you don't really see up and close sometimes. But the big thing from our point of view, we'd like to see him to create triangles out wide. So obviously we've got Jack Harrison there, got Click, got Alioski, and all that does is just keep these players honest. The full-back, obviously the centre mid has gone out there, but he's obviously playing as a right winger now. Gareth Barry's closest to Click. He doesn't get it in a set position. I'm thinking if I'm a full-back for West Brom, I'm just happy if there's just Jack Harrison there, because then I don't have to kind of worry about anything else, what's happening around me. I don't have to worry what's Click do. Is he going to make a third-man run going in beyond me? But just having that extra body just takes you out corner of your eye, just makes you thinking all the time, am I in the right position, am I doing the right job?
If we see this kind of play develop a little bit here once Click picks it up, and in this position here, you know, you've seen Tyler Roberts, of course, getting just slightly beyond Patrick Bamford. But from a defensive point of view, Ben, West Brom again would probably feel in this position, although maybe a little bit deep, they're not too bad, are they? I
think they're happy, because me as a centre half, you can see Dawson closest to Patrick Bamford. He's got his arm already like kind of pointing, so that tells me he's talking to Jake Livermore, he's talking to Gareth Barry, he's saying left shoulder, right shoulder, show him this way, show him that way.
You'd back yourself, wouldn't you, sort of 2-on-2 in that position, as two defenders, you're okay?
I'm happy because there's not much space behind me. It's going to take a worldy pass from there, if you're going to go first time, to clip it in behind me. He'll skid off, the keeper will claim. And I'm not too tight, I'm probably arm's length away from the centre half, from the centre forward, sorry. And like I said, from a striker's point of view, is there much to go off that? Not too much.
And again, the ball that we might see 99 times out of 100 will be this one, wouldn't it? To Pablo, wide position, he's in space, he'll take that ball very easily. But again, we're talking about, you know, taking the risks, taking on those balls that could create something.
And I've seen it time and time again, being up at Thorpe Arch, the passing drills these guys do, it's very precise. The pass around the cones, pass around the poles, and it's for a reason. It's just not to look fancy or be nice on some sort of data. It's for moments like this. So the pass that actually gets played into Tyler there, it's really so precise when it ends up feeding. You're feeding it through so little gaps. It's so hard to defend against. Like I say, you're thinking in a good defensive position, but that one pass, and then we're going to talk about Tyler's touch.
But Click's got the confidence about that pass as well, and I was hearing Patrick Bamford last week talk about exactly that, saying we were doing these repetition drills and I wasn't really sure why we were doing them, and then all of a sudden he kind of replicated a move in a game. You know, so as the ball is going to be played into Tyler Roberts here, I mean, it's a great first touch that buys him that little bit of space, isn't it? And Bamford's already on the move, and at this point the West Brom defender knows he's in trouble, because Bamford now, he knows if this ball goes on the inside of him, he's in deep trouble, isn't he?
Automatically now, what you can see, them two there, from what a split second ago when his arm's length and is in front of him, they're almost side by side now. You can see from your angle, almost side by side. And like I said, Tyler Roberts' first touch is so good because it takes him towards that kind of little gap where he's going to play it through. And if he has a first touch where it's a bit bobbly, where he has to take a second touch, this goal doesn't get scored. But because his first touch is that good, he can play second touch with a little through ball pass. And like I say, from centre-half point of view there, you're struggling. But what a finish, by the way. So composed, so delightful. Very similar to how Pablo scored his first goal with that extra little touch.
And here's the third goal again. Tyler Roberts, powerful, running with the ball. It was great play from him in midfield, wasn't it? And just maybe a slight bit of luck on the deflection. But this fourth goal as well, which summed up Leeds' passing play, Ben.
It did. And again, we spoke about having triangles out wide. You know, and Jamie Shackleton come on. Yes, fresh legs. But look, it's 93rd, 94th minute, was it? And we're still trying to get a fourth goal.
You got your left back?
Yeah.
You know, furthest man forward here, Alioski.
I know you was going to say I wasn't that far forward, and you're probably
well,
correct.
You said before I did, yeah.
You're probably correct.
Well, Ben, looking through those goals, it's clear really what we're seeing on the training pitch is what we're seeing on the pitch. We've seen it so much this season, but just finally on Friday night, it's the confidence boost, isn't it? But it's also reminding everybody that this team has done so much, so right for such a big chunk of the season.
Like I said it before the game, I was nervous coming down on Friday. I don't know why, because it was a big game. I don't really tend to get too much nerves, but maybe nerves are a good thing. Maybe they drive you on. I think everyone needs a little bit of nerves because it shows that it does mean something for you. And you're right, it does give everyone reminders. The most important people it does remind is them guys who are playing out there. It reminds what a good team they are, what a good group of players they are, what a good group of staff they've got behind them, fantastic manager. And it just shows, if you do the right things, trust yourself, because you do it on the training pitch, you train for moments like this. So when it all comes together, that's what performance and that's what results you get. Yeah,
good stuff, Ben. Good to get a little tactical insight as well into the goals that were scored against West Bromwich Albion last Friday night. Make sure you join us for part 2 of the scouting report, where we'll be looking ahead to the game against the Robins.